Ladies and gentlemen, imagine a voice so powerful it could silence nations, a presence so magnetic that entire opera houses trembled at her command. Maria Callas, La Divina, was not just an opera singer, she was an icon, revered as the greatest soprano of her time. Yet behind the dazzling facade of the operatic goddess lay a woman of profound strength, resilience, and complexity. Maria Callas was far more than the diva enshrined in headlines, or the woman defined by her tragic affair with Aristotle Onasis. Her story is one of grit and determination, shaped by a mother whose relentless ambitions forced Maria to retreat into herself and fueled an unyielding drive to succeed. Maria's rise to greatness was not handed to her. It was earned through relentless passion and a refusal to be overshadowed by pain or rejection. Today, we look beyond the myth to uncover the woman who redefined opera, turning her struggles into triumphs and her insecurities into the fuel for an artistry that still reverberates through history. Maria Callas was not just a voice, she was a force of nature, whose story is as timeless as the music she left behind. Maria Callas was born on December 2, 1923, in New York City, into a family defined by tension and unfulfilled dreams. Her parents, George and Evangelia Litza Kalogeropoulou, were a mismatched pair. George, a pragmatic pharmacist with modest ambitions, and Litza, a charismatic woman yearning for glamour and fame. Litza's aspirations for an acting career were thwarted by her marriage, a union her late father had warned against. After a promising start in Greece, tragedy struck when their second child, Vasily, died of typhoid at age 3. Grief and disillusionment led George to uproot the family and emigrate to America in 1923, just months before Maria's birth. Maria's arrival brought disappointment. Her parents had hoped for a son to replace Vasily. This shadow of discontent would linger over her childhood, shaping her sense of self-worth. The family's financial security crumbled during the Great Depression, forcing George into a traveling salesman's life and leaving Litza to raise Maria and her elder sister Jackie. Determined not to let hardship stifle her children's potential, Litza channeled her unfulfilled dreams into nurturing Maria's emerging talent. Maria quickly demonstrated a gift for music, winning school prizes and captivating audiences on children's radio programs. Yet, her mother's love often felt conditional, fostering a lifelong insecurity in Maria, who believed she had to earn affection through her achievements. In 1936, Litza decided to return to Greece, believing Maria's talent could thrive there. The move also served as an escape from George's infidelities and detachment. On January 28, 1937, Maria, her mother, and their beloved canaries boarded the Saturnia, leaving behind the struggles of their New York life. This journey marked the beginning of a new chapter for Maria, offering both a break from familial disappointment and a chance to pursue her destiny. Upon arriving in Athens, Maria faced skepticism from her extended family, who viewed her talent as unremarkable within a society that dismissed singers unless they achieved great fame. However, her uncle Efthymios recognized her potential and arranged an audition with Maria Trivella, a renowned teacher at the National Conservatory. Despite her nerves, Maria's voice stunned Trivella, who declared, "This is talent." Under Trivella's mentorship, Maria's vocal abilities flourished, and her confidence grew. For Maria, Trivella became a surrogate mother, providing the guidance and support she craved. Maria's life soon revolved entirely around her craft. Her relentless dedication and competitive drive set her apart from her peers. Alongside rigorous vocal training, she studied acting, developing the dramatic intensity that would later define her performances. At just 15, she debuted as Santuzza in Cavalleria Rusticana. As Maria Callas's artistic ambitions grew, her personal life revealed stark contrasts. That summer, her sister Jackie became engaged to Milton Embiricos, heir to a Greek shipping fortune, highlighting the diverging paths of the siblings. While Jackie prepared for a life of luxury, Maria, at just 15, remained deeply entrenched in the rigorous demands of her musical training. Awkward and self-conscious, Maria felt out of place amidst the glamour of Jackie's engagement celebrations. This sense of alienation only deepened her resolve to prove her worth through music. A pivotal moment came when Maria auditioned for Elvira de Hidalgo, a celebrated Spanish soprano stranded in Greece during World War II. Initially unimpressed by Maria's awkward demeanor, de Hidalgo was captivated by her raw, emotive voice and accepted her as a student with a full scholarship. Under de Hidalgo's expert guidance, Maria underwent a profound transformation, expanding her vocal range, mastering her high notes, and developing a commanding chest voice that became her hallmark. She immersed herself in rigorous training, spending long days perfecting technique and memorizing operatic scores, laying the foundation for her future as a world-class soprano. As Maria's artistry flourished, Greece was plunged into war. In 1941, German forces occupied Athens, casting a pall of fear and hardship over the city. Despite the dangers, Maria continued her lessons with unwavering determination, often defying curfews to attend sessions with de Hidalgo. Her fearless commitment extended to acts of rebellion, including singing loudly from her balcony despite Nazi prohibitions on public noise. The family also risked their lives by sheltering 2 British soldiers, embodying courage amidst the oppression. Maria's resilience and dedication paid off. By 17, she was performing with the Athens Opera, although her unconventional voice drew criticism from traditionalists. A career-defining moment came when she stepped into the role of Tosca, earning acclaim for her dramatic power and vocal intensity. Her portrayal captivated audiences, cementing her as a rising star in Greece's operatic world. However, controversy marred her early success. An invitation to perform for Italian soldiers in Salonika during the occupation later led to accusations of collaboration. While Maria likely viewed the performance as a professional obligation, it cast a shadow over her legacy in post-war Greece. Liberation in 1944 brought both relief and turmoil. Just after Maria's 21st birthday, Greece descended into a brutal civil war, claiming thousands of lives, including Maria's uncle. The aftermath left the nation in ruins and Maria facing career setbacks. The Athens Opera declined to renew her contract, citing her wartime performances, forcing her to reconsider her future. Encouraged by de Hidalgo to pursue her career in Italy, Maria instead chose to return to the United States in 1945, seeking a fresh start. Maria arrived in America in 1945 with just $100 to her name and no clear plan. Alone and unsure of her father's whereabouts, she had left her mother and sister behind in Athens to forge her own path. When she stepped off the SS Stockholm, however, she was unexpectedly greeted by her father, George. He had seen her name in a Greek-language newspaper's passenger list and rushed to meet her. Now, with a modest apartment on West 157th Street to call home, Maria's immediate worries were eased. She busied herself decorating her room, exploring the city, and indulging in New York sights and foods. This brief period of adjustment gave way to her familiar drive. Maria threw herself into auditions, meeting agents and fellow singers, and confidently listing roles like Tosca, Fidelio, and Santuzza from Cavalleria Rusticana as part of her repertoire. When asked where she had performed, she would simply reply, "In Athens." Unfortunately, her fame in Greece held little weight in New York. Undeterred, she resolved to prove her brilliance, though the repeated rejections began to weigh on her. In her moments of doubt, Maria found herself missing her mother, Evangelia, the woman who had been both her greatest collaborator and fiercest rival. Yearning for support, Maria wrote to her, pleading for her to come to America. Neither Maria nor Evangelia could afford the journey, and George's modest income couldn't cover the cost either. Maria's godfather ultimately provided the funds, and on Christmas Eve, Evangelia arrived in New York aboard the Queen Elizabeth. However, the family reunion was far from joyous. George's infidelity, now centered around a steady relationship with Alexandra Pappajohn, his eventual second wife, created an air of tension. Evangelia played the wounded wife, sleeping in Maria's room while the atmosphere in the apartment grew increasingly strained. Toward the end of 1946, Maria found an unlikely champion in Eddie Begarozzi, a New York lawyer with grand ambitions to resurrect the Chicago Opera. He envisioned a United States opera company that would bring European talent to American audiences, with Maria at its center. The company's first production was to be Turandot, with Maria in the title role of the vengeful Chinese princess. Despite Eddie's determination, raising funds through benefit concerts, postponing the premiere, and even selling personal belongings, the project collapsed under the weight of financial strain. The American Chorus Union demanded guarantees that Eddie couldn't provide, and he was forced to declare bankruptcy, bringing the company's ambitions to a halt. Maria returned to New York on February 6, 1947, alongside the bass singer Nicola Rossi Lameni. While the Chicago venture had ended in disappointment, it set the stage for her next great opportunity, one that would ultimately propel her toward the stardom she so fiercely pursued. In early 1947, Maria Callas's life took a transformative turn. Nicola Rossi Lameni, a celebrated bass singer and one of her earliest champions, introduced her to Giovanni Zenatello, the renowned artistic director of the Verona Arena Festival. Zenatello, in search of a soprano to headline Ponchielli's La Gioconda, invited Maria to audition in his Central Park West apartment. Despite the modest setting, Maria sang with such raw intensity and brilliance that Zenatello offered her the role on the spot. This moment marked not just the beginning of her journey into the Italian opera world, but also the spark of her rise to greatness. Maria's excitement was tempered by a looming obstacle. Eddie Bagarozzi, her former advocate in New York, demanded she sign an exclusive 10-year contract with him before leaving for Italy. Wary of the binding agreement but desperate not to jeopardize her future, Maria reluctantly signed on the day of her departure. It was a decision made under duress, one that would later cast shadows over her burgeoning career. On June 27, 1947, Maria arrived in Naples, stepping into the birthplace of opera and the heart of its tradition. Italy represented everything she had longed for: a stage worthy of her dreams and a chance to prove herself to the world's most discerning audiences. But it was also daunting, a land where failure was unforgivable, and every note carried the weight of expectation. In Verona, she was greeted warmly by city officials and introduced to Giovanni Battista Meneghini, a wealthy industrialist and opera devotee. Short, wiry, and charismatic, Meneghini's admiration for Maria was immediate and unwavering. "I knew he was it 5 minutes after I met him," Maria would later say, reflecting on their connection. While not a romance at first, his steadiness and belief in her offered Maria a sense of security she had long craved. Maria's Italian debut in La Gioconda at the Verona Arena was eagerly anticipated but fraught with challenges. During the dress rehearsal, she tripped and sprained her ankle, an accident that hampered her movement on stage. Critics acknowledged her vocal brilliance, noting the vibrant quality and easy production of her high notes. But the performance fell short of the overwhelming triumph Maria had envisioned. Yet amidst the uncertainty, one figure stood firmly by her side: Tullio Serafin. The esteemed conductor, known for nurturing extraordinary talent, remained resolute in his belief in Maria's potential. He encouraged her to stay in Verona, offering her the guidance and opportunities she needed to hone her craft. Under his mentorship, Maria began a relentless pursuit of perfection, pouring every ounce of her energy into proving herself. Serafin's faith in Maria bore fruit when he secured her a leading role in Wagner's Tristan und Isolde in Venice later that year, followed by Puccini's Turandot. The contract, offering 50,000 lire per performance, marked a significant milestone in her career. But when Maria realized she had committed to singing Isolde, a role she didn't yet know, panic set in. Serafin, ever confident, reassured her, "You will learn it." And she did. With astonishing resolve, Maria threw herself into preparing the role in just 1 month. Her opening night as Isolde, just before Christmas in 1947, was a revelation. Maria's performance radiated emotional depth and technical mastery, leaving audiences in awe. For the first time, she tasted the kind of success she had long dreamed of. Offers began to pour in, and her place as a rising star in the operatic world was solidified. The triumph in Venice paved the way for an extraordinary 1948. Maria reprised Isolde in Genoa and Rome, and though the role demanded immense stamina and vocal control, she met its challenges head-on. Her preparation for Bellini's Norma, guided meticulously by Serafin, marked the beginning of her association with a role that would define her career. Maria performed Norma 90 times across 8 countries, embodying the dramatic and vocal range that would make her a legend. In the midst of her professional ascension, Meneghini became a cornerstone in Maria's life. The industrialist abandoned his career to manage hers, devoting himself entirely to her success. His unwavering support and admiration buoyed Maria, even as whispers from society cast doubts on their partnership. Verona's elite viewed Maria as an opportunist, accusing her of pursuing Meneghini for his wealth. Maria, aware of the criticism, later reflected, "They said I came to Verona to marry a rich man." Yet Meneghini remained steadfast, weathering the gossip and anchoring Maria during her rise to fame. Maria Callas's versatility and sheer artistic tenacity reached an apex during the 1948 to 1949 season, showcasing her ability to conquer two vastly different roles. In one corner was Wagner's Brunhilde, a role demanding immense vocal power and dramatic weight. In the other was Bellini's Elvira in I Puritani, a delicate and virtuosic portrayal requiring precision and agility. The transition between these roles would prove to be one of the most defining and awe-inspiring moments of her career. The opportunity to perform Elvira arose unexpectedly. Margherita Carosio, a leading Italian soprano, fell ill with influenza just 10 days before the premiere, leaving the production without its star. At the time, Maria was deep in rehearsals for Die Walküre, juggling the intense demands of Wagner's score. One evening, while taking a brief respite at the Hotel Regina, she casually sight-read Elvira's arias for her own amusement. Overhearing her, Tullio Serafin's wife was astonished and immediately urged Maria to sing them for the maestro. Serafin, desperate to save the production, listened as Maria sang the arias with raw, instinctive brilliance. His decision was swift. Maria would debut as Elvira. With just a week to prepare, she embarked on a whirlwind of rehearsals, balancing her performances as Brunhilde on Wednesday and Friday while mastering the intricate bel canto style in the intervening days. On January 19, 1949, Maria stepped onto the stage as Elvira in I Puritani, and what unfolded was nothing short of miraculous. Despite relying on a teleprompter for the lyrics, she delivered a performance that captivated the audience and silenced her critics. Her ability to effortlessly transition from Wagnerian grandeur to Bellinian delicacy astounded everyone present. Franco Zeffirelli would later call it a miracle, likening her achievement to asking a heavyweight champion to compete and win as a ballerina overnight. Maria's triumph as Elvira catapulted her into the limelight, earning her the admiration of audiences and critics across Italy. As spring arrived, she received an invitation to perform at the prestigious Teatro Colón in Buenos Aires, marking her first step into the South American opera world. Yet, as her career soared, Maria faced the bittersweet reality of parting from Giovanni Battista Meneghini, the man who had become her steadfast anchor. In a decision that would intertwine her personal and professional lives, Maria resolved to leave Italy as Maria Meneghini Callas. On April 21, 1949, she married Battista in an intimate ceremony at the Chiesa dei Filippini in Verona. Just days later, she boarded the SS Argentina bound for Buenos Aires, embarking on a new chapter not only as an artist, but as a wife. Maria's performance of Turandot on May 20, 1949 at Teatro Colón was a resounding triumph. Critics hailed her ability to command the role with electrifying intensity and precision, praising her voice as it soared effortlessly above the orchestra. A rare recording of this performance remains one of the most sought-after artifacts of her career, capturing the spellbinding artistry that had earned her acclaim. Yet Maria's appearance as Turandot in Buenos Aires would be her farewell to the role. Having performed it 24 times across 7 cities, she made the pragmatic decision to retire it, acknowledging the damaging demands it placed on her voice. "It's ruined quite a few voices," she later remarked. While Maria's professional success was undeniable, her time in Buenos Aires was marked by emotional struggle. The distance from Meneghini left her feeling isolated and homesick. Regular telegrams and phone calls offered some comfort, with Battista offering detailed analyses of her reviews, especially the critical ones, to bolster her confidence. Yet Maria's longing for the familiar warmth of their life in Verona deepened, highlighting the personal sacrifices her career demanded. Returning to Verona, Maria embraced her new identity as Signora Meneghini. Their penthouse, a lavish blend of opulence and kitsch, became a sanctuary for Maria. Though some critics derided its aesthetic, Maria adored its gilded furniture, rococo curtains, and the pink marble bathroom adorned with golden fixtures. The home represented stability and security, a sharp contrast to the uncertainties of her early life. Maria seamlessly adapted to her role as a devoted wife, learning the Veronese dialect, cooking traditional pasta dishes, and finding inspiration in the view of the arena of Verona from their terrace. Yet even as she embraced domesticity, Maria remained focused on her craft. Her performance as Abigail in Verdi's Nabucco was a dazzling triumph, proving her ability to channel fiery intensity into a role while maintaining flawless technique. Critics were unanimous in their praise, affirming her status as one of opera's most dynamic talents. As Maria's star rose, comparisons to Renata Tebaldi, another luminary soprano, became inevitable. Tebaldi's warm lyrical tone was often pitted against Maria's dramatic versatility. Though the rivalry initially appeared manufactured by the press, tensions between the two sopranos soon spilled into their professional lives. Maria's sharp wit and candid remarks contrasted with Tebaldi's reserved demeanor, further fueling the media's narrative of two polar opposites vying for supremacy. This budding discord became evident during Maria's celebrated performances in Mexico. Her Norma, Aida, Tosca, and Il Trovatore dazzled audiences, but backstage, tensions flared with tenor Kurt Baum as they competed for the spotlight. This combative atmosphere mirrored the escalating friction with Tebaldi. A pivotal moment occurred at a benefit concert in Rio de Janeiro, where both sopranos were scheduled to perform. While Maria adhered to the agreed program, Tebaldi sang encores, seemingly attempting to overshadow her rival. Backstage, their confrontation erupted into a public spectacle, solidifying their feud in the eyes of the opera world. Matters worsened when Maria was abruptly dismissed from Tosca by the opera house director Barreto Pinto. Furious, Maria confronted him in a dramatic exchange that nearly ended with her hurling an inkstand across his desk. Despite these obstacles, Maria demonstrated unshakable professionalism. She fulfilled her remaining commitments, delivering 2 mesmerizing performances of La Traviata and ensuring payment for her canceled Tosca. When Tebaldi replaced Maria in Tosca following Maria's dismissal from the Rio Opera House, it was more than a professional disappointment. It was a deeply personal affront. For Maria, the incident wasn't just about rivalry. It reinforced her belief that it was her against the world. This sense of isolation only heightened her fiercely competitive nature, propelling her to prove her brilliance no matter the odds. Maria's relationship with her mother, Evangelia, was a delicate balance of obligation and distance, weighed down by years of unspoken resentment. Evangelia, eager to share in Maria's fame, joined her in Mexico and embraced the glamorous embassy receptions and high society gatherings that marked her daughter's burgeoning career. Yet, beneath the glittering veneer, their bond remained strained. Maria treated her mother with a formality that bordered on detachment, offering politeness but withholding genuine warmth. Evangelia likened their dynamic to that of distant relatives, civil yet devoid of intimacy. Rare moments of closeness emerged only in the mundane, such as Evangelia massaging Maria's tired feet after grueling performances. One evening, Maria's emotional walls crumbled, and she confessed her longing for children, tearfully asking her mother for help in raising them. But by morning, her vulnerability had vanished, replaced by the composed, guarded demeanor that defined their relationship. Before Evangelia's return to New York, Maria gifted her an expensive fur coat, a gesture of both generosity and finality. It symbolized Maria's effort to maintain her mother's comfort while firmly asserting the emotional distance she required. It was their last meaningful exchange. Mother and daughter would never see each other again. Maria's South American tour tested her endurance like never before. Illness forced her to cancel 8 performances in Sao Paulo, drawing sharp criticism from the press. Simultaneously, whispers of disparaging remarks about Renata Tebaldi reignited rumors of their rivalry, casting a shadow over Maria's successes. Exhausted but resolute, Maria returned to Italy, determined to channel the lessons of her turbulent tour into her next chapter. She embraced a new challenge with her first comedic role in Rossini's Il Turco in Italia, under the direction of Luchino Visconti. The partnership with Visconti marked a turning point, as his visionary staging deepened her dramatic interpretations and theatrical presence. On December 2, 1951, Maria celebrated her 28th birthday at Milan's opulent Grand Hotel, a fitting setting for a woman whose life had become synonymous with grandeur. Days later, she opened La Scala's season with I Vespri Siciliani, conducted by Victor de Sabata. The Milanese audience, infamous for their discerning critiques, greeted her performance with cautious applause, signaling the beginning of her conquest of Italy's most revered opera house. By January 1952, Maria had cemented her status as a leading figure in opera, returning to La Scala for her signature role in Norma. Despite the production's outdated sets, Maria's electrifying presence captivated audiences. While preparing for Norma, she tackled the demanding role of Constanza in Mozart's Die Entführung aus dem Serail, a piece requiring relentless vocal stamina. Though she mastered its technical challenges, she dismissed Mozart's operas as emotionally limited, famously quipping, "Most of Mozart's music is dull." Her repertoire continued to expand with Rossini's Armida, one of opera's most challenging roles. Astonishingly, Maria learned the part in just 5 days. Her 12-minute aria, spanning nearly 3 octaves, left audiences awestruck. Critics hailed her performance as a breathtaking fusion of vocal mastery and emotional intensity. Maria's grueling schedule between January and May 1952, which included Norma, I Puritani, and Die Walküre, pushed her to the brink. This relentless pace revealed the emotional toll of her career, as Maria wrestled with feelings of loneliness and an unfulfilled longing for connection. In May, Maria returned to Mexico, opening with I Puritani. Despite her stunning performance, she clashed with subpar conducting and uninspired co-stars. A lackluster production of Rigoletto further tested her patience. Though her portrayal of Gilda was groundbreaking, infusing the character with passion and complexity, Maria swore never to perform the role again. Upon her return to Verona, Maria received a letter from her estranged mother, Evangelia, demanding financial support and help launching her sister Jackie's career. The letter reopened old wounds. Maria, emotionally depleted, responded with firm defiance, insisting that Evangelia could support herself. The exchange deepened the chasm between them, severing their relationship beyond repair. July 1952 marked a triumphant return to Verona's arena, where Maria performed La Gioconda. The homecoming coincided with her signing an exclusive recording contract with EMI, cementing her artistic legacy. Her collaboration with EMI's Walter Legg produced some of opera's most iconic recordings. That November, Maria made her Covent Garden debut in Norma, introducing British audiences to the grandeur of Italian opera. Critics crowned her the definitive Norma of her generation, though commentary about her weight lingered. In response, Maria undertook a dramatic transformation, shedding 70 pounds to adopt a glamorous, Audrey Hepburn-like figure. Maria ended 1952 with a groundbreaking performance as Lady Macbeth in Verdi's Macbeth, the first opera televised across Italy. Embodying Verdi's vision of Lady Macbeth as harsh and sinister, Maria infused the role with deliberate vocal grit. The thunderous ovation cemented her as a master of dramatic intensity, despite mixed critical reviews. In 1954, Maria collaborated with director Luchino Visconti on Spontini's La Vestale. Trusting his vision, Maria brought unparalleled emotional depth to the role of Julia. Their partnership redefined operatic staging, blending theatrical innovation with Maria's dramatic genius. Though Maria admired Visconti deeply, her feelings were tinged with possessiveness, particularly when tenor Franco Corelli captured Visconti's attention. Yet Maria's professionalism never wavered, and the production was hailed as a triumph. Maria's meteoric rise magnified her rivalry with Renata Tebaldi. Her comparison of their voices to champagne and Coca-Cola sparked public fascination. At La Scala, Maria reigned unchallenged, though hostility simmered. During a La Traviata performance, an audience member threw radishes on stage. Ever composed, Maria turned the insult into a moment of triumph, treating the radishes as a bouquet. Maria Callas's meteoric rise to fame reached fever pitch in Chicago, where her performances ignited Callas mania. Opening the lyric opera's season with I Puritani, she captivated critics and audiences alike with her unmatched artistry and commanding stage presence. However, during her final performance of Madame of Butterfly, Maria's triumph was marred by a deeply personal betrayal. Served legal papers mid-performance by her former manager Eddie Bagarozzi, Maria's outraged reaction was captured in a photograph that splashed across newspapers, painting her as volatile. This moment, though fleeting, left a lasting scar, reminding her of the relentless price of fame. Fame brought not only accolades, but also relentless challenges. One of the strangest controversies Maria faced during the mid-1950s was a lawsuit from an Italian pasta company falsely claiming her dramatic weight loss was due to their product. The media dubbed the ordeal the Battle of the Spaghetti, a farcical yet protracted legal drama that symbolized the constant commodification of Maria's life. This intrusion chipped away at her emotional resilience, a stark reminder that her fame extended far beyond the stage. Amid these distractions, Maria experienced a rare professional misstep with Rossini's Il Barbiere di Siviglia at La Scala. Cast as Rosina, a comedic role requiring lightness and charm, Maria's performance was criticized for lacking the nuance and wit demanded by the character. Her exaggerated interpretation provided detractors with ammunition, highlighting the precariousness of her standing even at the peak of her career. For Maria, the experience was a humbling lesson in the delicate balance of versatility and artistic authenticity. Maria's resilience and ability to rebound were unparalleled. In 1956, she delivered a series of performances of Donizetti's Lucia di Lammermoor in Vienna, under the baton of Herbert von Karajan. These performances not only restored her reputation, but also elevated it to new heights. Maria's flawless navigation of Lucia's intricate bel canto passages, combined with her emotional depth, captivated audiences and critics alike. One performance ended with a 20-minute standing ovation, a testament to her artistic mastery. Even the Austrian president joined the applause, underscoring the national admiration she had garnered. This triumph silenced skeptics and reaffirmed Maria's status as opera's reigning diva, proving that even in the face of setbacks, her artistry remained untouchable. The anticipation surrounding Maria's long-awaited debut at New York's Metropolitan Opera in October 1956 reached a fever pitch. Her portrayal of Norma was heralded as a defining moment, and her appearance on the cover of Time magazine elevated her to cultural icon status. However, the accompanying article offered a double-edged portrayal. While it celebrated her genius, it also unearthed the turbulence of her personal life, reigniting public fascination with her fraught relationship with her mother. The article's inclusion of bitter excerpts from private letters Maria had written to her mother left her feeling exposed and betrayed. These revelations painted Maria as both a victim of her upbringing and a tempestuous figure navigating the complexities of fame. As she prepared for her Met debut, the weight of these publicized struggles compounded the already immense pressure she faced. Despite the personal and professional challenges, Maria's artistic achievements during this time were revolutionary. Collaborations with visionary directors like Luchino Visconti and renowned conductors like Herbert von Karajan elevated opera to unprecedented heights. Her interpretations of Norma, Lucia di Lammermoor, and Anna Bolena redefined the operatic canon, blending technical brilliance with raw emotional depth. These performances set new standards and secured her place as La Divina, a title that acknowledged her towering influence on the art form. In September 1957, Maria Callas stepped into the glittering world of high society at Elsa Maxwell's famed Venice Ball. Held in a resplendent Venetian palazzo, the event was a lavish convergence of aristocrats, celebrities, and cultural icons. Amid the spectacle, one figure stood out, Aristotle Onasis, the Greek shipping magnate whose charisma commanded the room. Their meeting was brief, with Maria brushing off his advances, but it was a moment that planted the seeds of a relationship that would forever alter her life. The Venice Ball symbolized a turning point for Maria, who had begun to seek validation beyond her unparalleled artistic accomplishments. Drawn to the allure of wealth and influence, she embraced a new chapter where her artistry intersected with the world of the elite. Critics saw this as a departure from her devotion to opera, accusing her of trading her artistry for superficiality. But for Maria, the ball was more than an indulgence. It was a gateway to a life where she hoped to find fulfillment as a woman of both artistry and status. On January 2, 1958, the stage at Rome's Opera House was set for Maria Callas's performance in Norma. an event of national significance attended by Italy's President Giovanni Gronchi and high-ranking dignitaries. Yet, behind the scenes, Maria was grappling with severe vocal strain, a symptom of years of grueling schedules and relentless pressure. Maria faltered through the first act, her voice betraying her struggles. At intermission, she made the heartbreaking decision to withdraw from the performance. The fallout was swift and brutal. Critics branded her unprofessional, and the Italian press vilified her as disrespectful to the president. Outside her hotel, enraged patrons gathered in protest. Even the Italian parliament condemned her actions, framing the incident as a national disgrace. Maria, devastated by the backlash, retreated to her Milan home, only to find it vandalized by angry fans. The scandal marked a low point in her career, intensifying her disillusionment with the opera world and pushing her further into the arms of high society as a sanctuary. The Rome scandal strained Maria's relationship with La Scala, the theater that had been the heart of her artistic journey. By May 1958, the tension between Maria and the theater's management reached a breaking point during her performances of Bellini's Il Pirata. The hostility was palpable, with Maria delivering a defiant performance that culminated in her pointedly directing the line Il palco funesto, which translates to the accursed stage, toward the general manager's empty box. Yet Maria's final moments at La Scala were bittersweet. The audience, recognizing the end of an era, showered her with flowers and thunderous applause, a farewell befitting her towering legacy. Leaving La Scala for the last time, Maria closed the chapter on a relationship that had defined her career. In the aftermath of the Rome scandal and her departure from La Scala, Maria retreated to her villa in Sirmione, nestled along the tranquil shores of Lake Garda. The serene setting offered a reprieve from the chaos of public life, allowing Maria fleeting moments of peace and reflection. Yet, the pressures of fame and the emotional toll of her career were never far from her mind. Maria's performances during this period bore the weight of her inner struggles. While her artistry remained unparalleled, her vulnerability was increasingly apparent. Each time she stepped on stage, it felt like a battle, not just against the physical demands of singing, but against the personal demons that had begun to haunt her. Maria began to question whether the fleeting moments of adulation were worth the relentless sacrifices they required. In June 1958, Maria performed at Covent Garden's Centenary Gala, where she was met with warmth and respect that sharply contrasted with her experiences at La Scala. Her stunning rendition of the Mad Scene from I Puritani earned 8 curtain calls, solidifying her as the star of the evening. Later that year, her long-awaited Paris debut at a charity gala for the Légion d'honneur became a sensation, with tickets sold at record prices and an audience including luminaries like Charlie Chaplin, Brigitte Bardot, and Aristotle Onasis. Onasis, who sent Maria 3 bouquets of roses signed in Greek, was among the first to congratulate her on her triumph. While Maria basked in the adoration of Paris, her personal life began to fray. Her marriage to Giovanni Battista Meneghini, who had managed her career and finances since their wedding in 1949, was increasingly strained. Publicly, Maria credited Meneghini as the foundation of her career, saying, "If I am the voice, he is the soul," and celebrated their 10th wedding anniversary with a lavish dinner at Maxime's. Yet privately, doubts mounted. Maria's comments, often overblown with gratitude, seemed designed to reinforce an image of marital harmony she no longer felt. She confided to friends that she felt stifled by their partnership and questioned whether their relationship could continue. The turning point came when Maria joined Onasis aboard his yacht, the Christina, for a Mediterranean cruise. Meneghini, unable to adapt to the opulence and social demands of Onasis's world, grew sullen and withdrawn. Onasis's charisma and shared Greek heritage stood in stark contrast to Meneghini's dour demeanor. Maria, longing for passion and connection, found herself drawn to Onasis's vibrant personality and storytelling. During a stormy night in Paris, she emotionally surrendered to Onasis, marking the beginning of the end for her marriage. Meneghini, deeply resentful, later accused Maria of betrayal and ingratitude. He claimed, "I created Callas, and she repaid me with a stab in the back. She was a fat, clumsily dressed woman, a refugee, a gypsy when I met her. She had not a cent nor any prospect for a career." He recalled renting her a hotel room and giving her $70 to remain in Italy when she was struggling to launch her career. Despite these accusations, Meneghini also displayed moments of self-pity and humor, quipping, "You'll see, if everything is split and we have to divide our poodle, Maria will get the front and I will end up with the tail." Maria, for her part, maintained a dignified public silence, but privately grappled with guilt and uncertainty. While she was deeply in love with Onasis, she struggled to reconcile her traditional values with her new role as his mistress. Evangelia, Maria's estranged mother, fanned the flames of scandal, declaring, "I was Maria's first victim, now it's Meneghini. Onasis will be the third." Maria ignored her mother's accusations, but could not escape the judgment of society, particularly from figures like former friend Elsa Maxwell, who sided with Tina Onasis, or the media, which painted her as an ambitious homewrecker. In November 1959, the divorce proceedings with Meneghini unfolded in Brescia. Meneghini initially sought to portray Maria as having abandoned her marital duties, citing behavior incompatible with elementary decency. However, the couple ultimately reached a mutual agreement, dividing their assets without excessive rancor. Maria retained her jewelry, the Milan apartment on Via Buonarroti, and both ends of their poodle, while Meneghini kept their real estate holdings. When the court adjourned after 6 hours, Maria exited with a calm dignity that silenced the large crowd gathered outside. The media frenzy surrounding Maria's divorce was exacerbated by Tina Onasis filing for her own divorce in New York, citing years of Aristotle's infidelity but sparing Maria from being named in the suit. Professionally, Maria's relationship with Onasis signaled a dramatic shift. Her operatic appearances dwindled, from a prolific 28 performances in 1958 to only 2 in 1962. Critics and fans blamed Onasis for derailing her career, but Maria saw their relationship as liberating. She remarked, "I had become prematurely dull and old. Life for me really began at 40. Onasis introduced her to a life of luxury and freedom, allowing her to escape the relentless work ethic that had defined her career since her teenage years. By 1960, Maria's focus shifted dramatically as her relationship with Aristotle Onasis deepened. The enigmatic shipping tycoon encouraged her to step away from the opera stage, promising a life of luxury, adventure, and unconditional companionship. For Maria, who had long craved stability and emotional fulfillment, Onasis's world offered an intoxicating escape. This period marked a significant departure from the Maria who once ruled the grand stages of La Scala and Covent Garden. While critics and fans lamented the apparent loss of her artistry, Maria embraced the promise of a different kind of life. Yet the sacrifices she made for love left her grappling with an identity crisis. Without her voice as her anchor, Maria found herself adrift, struggling to reconcile the woman she'd been with the life she now led. By 1964, Maria's operatic career had effectively ended, a casualty of her pursuit of love and a life beyond the relentless demands of her art. Yet her legacy as one of opera's most transformative figures endured, even as she stepped into the shadows of the stage she had once commanded. Maria's relationship with Aristotle Onasis was a heady mix of passion, glamour, and heartbreak. Onasis adored her talent, beauty, and global renown, but his affections came with control and unpredictability. Lavishing Maria with extravagant gifts and indulgent gestures, he simultaneously maintained ties with other women, including his estranged wife Tina and a series of high-profile lovers. Maria, captivated by his charm and longing for stability, endured his betrayals, holding on to the hope that their bond would lead to the marriage and family life she yearned for. For Maria, Onasis offered a connection that felt uniquely personal. As a fellow Greek and global icon, he understood the pressures of fame and the complexities of their shared heritage. Yet, their relationship exposed Maria's vulnerabilities. Once the commanding figure on the world's most prestigious stages, she now found herself subject to Onasis's whims. His charisma, while intoxicating, masked an emotional distance that left Maria constantly on edge. The once dominant diva became a woman navigating the fragility of love and trust. This emotional turmoil seeped into her artistry. Critics and audiences began to note the fragility in her voice, a stark contrast to its former brilliance. Maria herself acknowledged the connection between her emotional state and her vocal decline, confiding, "It is not my voice that is sick, it is my nerves." As she retreated further from the opera stage, the void left by her career grew larger, deepening her reliance on Onasis for fulfillment. Maria was facing the unraveling of both her personal and professional lives. The meticulous discipline and fierce artistry that had defined her career began to wane, and her performances became rare and unpredictable. Critics lamented the decline of her once magnificent voice, and audiences were divided. Some clung to the memory of her greatness, while others viewed her as a shadow of her former self. Maria, ever her harshest critic, struggled to reconcile the brilliance of her past with the uncertainty of her present. Amid this turmoil, Maria sought refuge in her art, attempting a comeback in 1964 with Tosca at London's Covent Garden. Directed by Franco Zeffirelli and co-starring Tito Gobbi, the production marked her return to the stage after an 18-month hiatus. Skepticism surrounded her decision. Could Maria Callas reclaim her throne as opera's reigning diva? The rehearsals were grueling but revitalizing. Maria's immersion in the role of Tosca was complete, bringing sensuality, jealousy, and vulnerability to life with her unmatched dramatic abilities. Even moments of danger, like her wig catching fire or a prop knife injuring Gobbi, were met with Maria's trademark professionalism. Her opening night was an undeniable triumph, reminding the world of her theatrical genius and earning rave reviews that reignited her artistic reputation. While Tosca marked a professional high, Maria's personal life remained tumultuous. During the production, she learned of her father's critical illness and remarriage, events that compounded her emotional fragility. Despite these challenges, she completed a series of recordings in Paris, revisiting works by Rossini, Donizetti, and Verdi. Though technically flawed, these recordings retained the emotional depth that defined her artistry. Maria's collaboration with Zeffirelli extended to a new production of Norma in Paris. The staging highlighted her ethereal presence and raw emotion, but her vocal limitations were increasingly evident. A controversial performance where she cracked on a high note left her humiliated, though she recovered with characteristic courage, asking the orchestra to restart. The audience responded with a standing ovation, a testament to her resilience. Yet the experience underscored her vulnerability and the weight of her diminishing capabilities. Maria's relationship with Onasis, once a source of inspiration, deteriorated further. His cruel remarks and prioritization of his business empire eroded their bond. Maria's hopes of marriage and family were shattered when Onasis rejected her pregnancy and insisted on its termination. The decision left her emotionally devastated, marking a turning point in their relationship. Onasis's public marriage to Jackie Kennedy in 1968 was the ultimate betrayal. Alone in Paris, Maria maintained a stoic exterior, attending social events and pursuing professional opportunities. But those close to her saw the emotional scars. This abandonment marked the beginning of her gradual withdrawal from the public eye. In the years that followed, Maria's efforts to revitalize her career extended beyond the opera stage. A planned film adaptation of Tosca with Zeffirelli seemed promising but fell apart due to Onasis's interference. The collapse of the project humiliated Maria and fractured her long-standing friendship with George Vergatis, further isolating her. Maria also became embroiled in a legal dispute over a shipping venture co-owned with Onasis and Vergatis. The court case aired private grievances, exposing the fractures in her relationship with Onasis. His public dismissal of her contributions deepened Maria's alienation and sense of betrayal. By 1968, Maria Callas's life had entered a twilight phase. Her relationship with Onasis was over, and her career as a performing artist was effectively behind her. Though she made sporadic appearances, the emotional and physical toll was evident. Increasingly, she retreated to her Paris apartment, where silence replaced the thunderous ovations she once commanded. Maria's later years were marked by loneliness, introspection, and the weight of unfulfilled dreams. Yet, even in decline, her legend grew. Maria Callas's transition to film with Medea in 1970 was both a bold artistic gamble and a deeply personal endeavor. Directed by the avant-garde Pier Paolo Pasolini, the film was an unconventional adaptation of Euripides' tragedy, and Maria's casting as the titular character was nothing short of inspired. The role, steeped in betrayal and inner torment, mirrored Maria's own life as she channeled her heartbreak and resilience into a hauntingly raw performance. Her portrayal captivated critics, who praised its emotional depth and intensity. Yet Medea's limited commercial success left Maria disillusioned. She had poured herself into the project, enduring grueling physical challenges, running barefoot over jagged terrain and filming in oppressive heat, only to confront the painful reality that her star no longer shone as brightly. Publicly, she maintained a facade of contentment, writing to friends about her diligent practice and creative focus. But privately, Maria grappled with a sense of diminishing relevance, feeling the weight of her diminishing opportunities. As Maria navigated her career struggles, Aristotle Onasis returned to her life, reigniting a complex and tumultuous bond. By 1970, his marriage to Jacqueline Kennedy had begun to unravel, and he sought solace in Maria's enduring loyalty. Their rekindled relationship brought moments of joy, but was marred by Onasis's continued ties to Jackie, who remained a public fixture. For Maria, Onasis's return was bittersweet. She was elated by his presence, but deeply wounded by his unwillingness to sever his other connections. Their relationship oscillated between fleeting happiness and crushing disappointment, as Onasis's attention was often divided by his business and public image. Despite the emotional toll, Maria clung to him, convinced he was the only man who truly understood her. Her devotion was unwavering, even as the relationship became a source of humiliation and pain. In 1971, Maria sought a new purpose in teaching master classes at New York's Juilliard School. These sessions became both a professional outlet and a personal catharsis, blending her vast knowledge of opera with introspection. Maria's ability to dissect roles with precision and convey their emotional essence captivated her students, who marveled at her insights and passion. For Maria, the classes were as much about rediscovering herself as they were about teaching. Singing snippets of arias allowed her to confront her diminished voice and the fears that had kept her from the stage. While each note reminded her of what she had lost, the process also gave her a sense of relevance and a fleeting connection to the world she once dominated. Maria's reunion with tenor Giuseppe Di Stefano in the early 1970s offered companionship and a glimmer of artistic renewal. Once equals on the operatic stage, both were now shadows of their former selves, their voices diminished, and their careers in decline. Together they embarked on a recording project and planned a concert tour, hoping to reignite their shared magic. Their partnership, while supportive at times, was fraught with tension. Di Stefano's volatile temperament and Maria's lingering guilt over his strained marriage created an emotionally charged dynamic. While they found solace in their shared struggles, their collaborations were marked by uneven performances that underscored how far they had fallen from their peak. Maria's reliance on Di Stefano for emotional support highlighted her growing isolation as her circle of confidants dwindled. In 1973, Maria and Di Stefano embarked on a world concert tour billed as the return of two operatic legends. However, the tour became a stark reminder of the passage of time. Eager audiences came to witness the legendary Callas, but her voice, ravaged by years of strain and disuse, could no longer rise to the occasion. Critics described her performances as hollow, and the magic that had once defined her artistry seemed irretrievable. Still, the adoration of her fans provided brief solace. On her 50th birthday, Maria performed in London to a devoted audience that celebrated her legacy, even as they mourned her decline. These moments, while validating, were bittersweet, serving as painful reminders of the greatness she had once achieved and the distance she had now fallen. The physical and emotional toll of the tour left Maria depleted. Her relationship with Di Stefano grew increasingly strained, their mutual frustrations compounding the pressures of public performance. By the time the tour ended in late 1974, Maria retreated to her Paris apartment, her health deteriorating and her once unshakable confidence replaced by despair. Her apartment became a sanctuary, meticulously arranged but hollow in its silence. The applause and adulation that had once sustained her were now distant memories, and Maria struggled to find meaning without the stage. Surrounded by reminders of her glorious past, she faced the reality of a life defined by loss, of her voice, her love, and the identity that had once made her a star. In March 1975, Maria Callas's world was irrevocably altered by the death of Aristotle Onasis. Despite their tempestuous and often painful relationship, Onasis had been a constant in her life, a link to passion, love, and the sense of belonging she craved. His passing left Maria bereft, severing one of her last emotional ties. For Maria, Onasis's death symbolized more than the loss of a great love. It marked the end of a chapter defined by sacrifice and heartbreak, leaving her adrift in a sea of unfulfilled dreams. Grief consumed her, driving her further into isolation. Without Onasis, the already fragile structure of her life began to crumble, and she retreated even further from the public eye. The final years of Maria's life unfolded in a haze of solitude and introspection. In her Paris apartment on Avenue Georges Mandel, she surrounded herself with relics of her glorious past, photographs, recordings, and keepsakes that spoke to the heights of her operatic reign. She often played her own performances, the sound of her once magnificent voice filling the silence of her home. These echoes of past triumphs offered both comfort and torment, reminding her of what she had lost. Maria's physical and emotional health continued to decline. The rigorous discipline and magnetic presence that had defined her career were replaced by frailty and weariness. Once statuesque and commanding, her figure had stooped and her vitality waned. Her world grew smaller as friends drifted away or passed on, leaving her increasingly alone. Though she maintained occasional correspondence and hosted the rare visitor, anxiety and self-doubt often led her to cancel plans, preferring the sanctuary of her memories to the unpredictability of the outside world. Maria wrestled with the duality of her existence, the private, vulnerable woman versus the public, invincible diva. She recorded reflections on this tension, speaking candidly about the suffocating weight of her myth. The divide between Maria and Callas seemed insurmountable, and her inability to reconcile these identities deepened her isolation. Maria Callas's final years were a poignant coda to a life that had burned brilliantly and faded too soon. Her voice, once celebrated for its unparalleled power and emotional intensity, was now only a memory, preserved in recordings that bore the weight of her genius. Attempts to rekindle her career or find new creative outlets faltered as her health and confidence declined. Public interest in her personal life persisted, but Maria became more a symbol of faded glory than the vibrant artist she had once been. The death of Aristotle Onasis had left her unmoored, depriving her of one of the few enduring connections in her life. Her attempts to rebuild, a series of tentative projects, fleeting relationships, and rare public appearances, ultimately failed to fill the void left by his loss. By the mid-1970s, Maria's world had narrowed to the confines of her Paris apartment, where the applause and adulation she once commanded seemed like distant echoes. Maria Callas died on September 16, 1977, at the age of 53. Officially, the cause was a heart attack, but to those who knew her, it seemed as though her heart had been broken long before. Her funeral at the Greek Orthodox Church in Paris was a chaotic and emotional event, attended by admirers who wept openly and called out, "Bravo, Maria," as her coffin emerged. Her ashes were scattered in the Aegean Sea, a fitting tribute to her Greek heritage and the waters she loved. What did you think of Maria Callas's extraordinary life? Did her triumphs, struggles, and legacy resonate with you? And are you excited about the upcoming film on Maria's life, starring Angelina Jolie? Please share your thoughts on what moved or inspired you most about her story. And as always, thank you for watching.
tu